You know that feeling, the content treadmill? You create something, you get this quick burst of attention, and then, poof, it's gone. So you have to run back and create the next thing and the next. It is absolutely exhausting. But what if there was another way? A strategy where your work doesn't just fade away, but actually grows stronger and more valuable over time.
Well, it all starts with understanding this deep paradox about how people are persuaded. We all assume that to get a big commitment, you need this huge high-pressure push right at the very end.
But what if that's completely backwards? What if the whole game isn't won at the finish line, but right at the starting block, with the smallest, easiest first step? What if the entire battle is won right there, at the very beginning? This, right here, is the key to a content strategy that builds assets that literally gain value on their own. It's all about earning a tiny yes from your audience, just a moment of their time in exchange for something undeniably valuable. That small moment psychologically clears the path for a much bigger commitment down the road. This is how you finally step off the content treadmill for good. Okay, let's break down exactly how this works.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start at the psychology, the why behind this whole strategy. Then we'll get into the what, the big problem with how most content gets made today. From there, we'll pull back the curtain on the how, this incredible snowball effect and the human behaviors that make it grow automatically. And then, of course, we'll give you a concrete framework to put this into action, and we'll wrap up with the big mindset shift that makes it all click.
So let's start with that paradox. It's all built on this incredibly powerful and predictable feature of how our brains work, a mental shortcut that guides our choices without us even noticing.
It's called commitment bias. Deep down, we are all hardwired with this powerful need to be consistent. Once we make a choice, any choice, even a tiny one, we feel this internal pressure to make our future actions line up with that first decision. You know, it just makes life easier. We don't have to reevaluate everything all the time.
Now, this bias is the engine behind the classic foot-in-the-door sales technique, and it's the exact same reason this content strategy works so well. You don't start by asking for the big sale. No way. You start with something small, something easy that gives real value, like, say, reading the best guide on a topic they care about. That's the micro commitment. And once they've done that, something shifts. Their identity changes just a little. They now see themselves as someone who learns from you. So later, when a bigger request comes along, it doesn't feel like a pushy sales pitch. It feels like the next logical step.
Okay, hold on to that idea of consistency, because now we're going to pivot to the problem that is burning out most marketing teams today. It's that feeling of just running in place, right? Of working harder and harder just to not fall behind. It's the crisis of decaying assets.
Let's be honest, we are drowning in content. And to get noticed, most strategies just chase what's popular right now. Breaking news, the latest trends, all that reactive stuff. But here's the fatal flaw. That kind of content is designed to die. It has an incredibly short shelf life. Sure, you get a nice little traffic spike, but then it becomes irrelevant, and you're forced right back onto the treadmill to make the next piece. It's just this endless cycle of huge effort for results that disappear.
This chart really lays out the two different worlds. On the left, you've got the decaying asset. It's timely, its value is fleeting, it needs you to constantly feed the machine, and really, it's just a marketing expense. But on the right, that's the goal, the compounding asset. It's timeless because it solves a core problem that never goes away. It creates long-term value, it grows on its own, and, this is the big one, it stops being an expense and becomes a capital asset for your business.
And here's what that decaying asset looks like in the real world. You publish that trendy post and boom, week 1, traffic is great. But by month 3, the world's moved on, traffic is tanked, and a year later, it's a ghost town. The asset's value is literally zero.
Now contrast that with this. This is the compounding asset. It follows a completely different path. It starts slow, really slow. The first few months, traffic might be tiny, but it doesn't die. Instead, it starts to build momentum. By year 1, it's getting real traction. By year 3, it's a powerhouse, driving way more traffic than that timely post ever did, even at its peak. And the best part, it's still growing. You're not trying to win the week anymore, you're trying to own the topic for a decade.
So how does this happen? How does an asset actually grow all by itself? This brings us to the engine of the whole strategy, the automatic snowball effect. It's a simple, self-reinforcing loop. Step 1, you create a timeless asset.
And I don't just mean another article. I mean, you create the single best, most helpful resource on a fundamental topic in your space. Step 2, because it's so good, it starts to attract backlinks without you even trying. Other people just naturally link to it because it's the definitive source. And step 3, this is the magic. Those links build your website's overall authority, which helps you rank higher in search, which brings in more traffic, which earns you even more backlinks, and the whole loop starts again, but bigger and faster than before.
This idea right here, backlink accumulation, this is the secret sauce. This is the compounding factor. It's just like earning interest in a bank account. A truly great piece of content acts like a magnet, pulling in links from other sites faster and faster over time. And the most important part is that this happens passively. You're not begging for links. The value of your asset is doing the work for you.
And all those backlinks directly build up your domain authority, or DA. The easiest way to think about DA is like a credit score for your website. The more trustworthy sites that link to you, the higher your score gets, and the more likely all of your pages are to show up in search results. So by building one amazing asset that attracts great links, you actually lift up your entire website.
So the mechanics make sense, right? But what actually makes people and search engines behave this way? Well, the answer isn't just about algorithms. It's about the fundamental human psychology of trust.
At the end of the day, both real people and search engines are just trying to find signals of trust. In the world of search, we call this EEAT: experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. A timeless, deeply researched piece of content just screams all of these things. It proves it's a reliable source in an ocean of noise, and that's what gets rewarded with visibility over the long haul.
Just think about it from your own perspective. When you have a really tough question, you don't want to click on 10 different mediocre articles to piece together an answer. You want one place that has everything. By creating that single best resource, you're doing a huge favor for your audience. You're lowering their cognitive load, the mental work they have to do. That doesn't just answer a question, it builds real, lasting trust.
And this is where that idea from the beginning comes full circle. Remember the consistency principle? Well, it works on other content creators too. Once a resource becomes known as the authority, other writers feel this pull to link to it. It just becomes the correct, consistent thing to do. And every time they do, it reinforces its authority, which makes even more people link to it, which solidifies its status even more. The whole system feeds itself. Okay, so we get it. The drivers are trust and consistency. So the next question is obvious. How do we build a system that actually produces this stuff reliably? This can't be about luck. It has to be about a process. So let's get into the actionable framework for mastery.
The very first rule is a massive shift in how you use your resources. You need to dedicate 80% of your content budget, your time, your energy, your money, to building these evergreen compounding assets. That means an obsessive focus on topics that solve fundamental, unchanging problems for your audience. The other 20%? Sure, use that for timely stuff, but the core of your strategy has to be timeless.
And mastery really comes down to these 3 pillars. First, every single idea has to pass the timelessness test. You have to ask, will someone care about this just as much in 3 years as they do today? If not, it's not a compounding asset. Second, you have to do an annual authority refresh. Even timeless content needs a little tune-up. And third, you have to be disciplined about internal linking. Every new thing you publish should link back to your core assets, constantly sending authority where it will compound the most.
And this annual refresh, it's not some huge project, it's a strategic tune-up. This checklist shows you how simple it is. You check for old data and broken links. You swap in new stats and case studies to keep it fresh. You update your sources. Maybe give the intro and conclusion a quick polish. It's a small investment each year to protect your huge capital asset and make sure it keeps growing.
All right, this brings us to the end, and honestly, the most important part of this whole explainer. You can follow all the tactics, but to really make this work, it requires a deep, patient shift in how you think about everything.
So if you only remember one thing, let it be this. In a world that is obsessed with short-term hacks and instant gratification, strategic patience is the ultimate superpower. It is the discipline to play the long game. It's just simple compounding returns, but applied to building trust online. This right here is the transformation you're making. You're shifting from seeing content as a cost center, just another line item on the budget, to seeing it as a capital asset on your balance sheet. You stop trying to shove people through a funnel, and instead you create this center of gravity, this value that just pulls people towards you. And best of all, you stop fighting against time, and instead you build a system where your most important work gets stronger every single year.
And that's really the thought to end on.
The best, most sustainable marketing isn't about yelling the loudest or pushing the hardest. It's about quietly, patiently, and strategically building something of such real, enduring value that it becomes a permanent fixture. It's about building assets that work for you, day and night, getting stronger with age.